Canada's Pierre Lourdes, who won the two-man gold in '98 in Nagano, was in second position, a mere 600ths back. He's powered by huge Jamaican-born brakeman Lascelles Brown. Martin Annan in Switzerland won in third position, with Britain's Lee Johnson and Dan Humphries in 12th position. Oh, you get very short odds indeed on a German win tonight. So strong are the Germans in all of the sliding events, the luge, the skeleton, the bobsled, that down at this Cesana track here, they've been given special permission to give PA announcements in German as well as the official Olympic languages of French and English. Now, fortunately for us, and indeed for me, Colin Bryce and Paul Dickinson will be sticking to English. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Hazel. Well, we're just having a look at the profile of the track here, which has been much talked about. The descent over 1,400 metres and the depth to which they go from top to bottom, 114 metres. And as you were saying, that does present us with dramatic speeds of over 80 miles an hour in the course of, what, 55 seconds or thereabouts. Unlucky that Lee Johnson is not sliding until number 19. He's in the second group of 10 as we just watch some of the athletes get warmed up at the top of the track. And he actually produced an absolutely magnificent slide yesterday evening, 55.85, well over 80 miles an hour, and that was the 7th fastest. But because he was a little bit slower on his first slide, that means he's down in 12th place, as you were saying, and this is the order in which they go. Austria first, they'll be the first that we see, and Wolfgang Stampfer and Klaus Seelos. United States, of course, are there. We won't see Lee Johnson and Dan Humphries until the third page. But this is a bit of a lottery, you know. Colin Bryce sitting next to me, he's done this. He was there in Salt Lake City. And the snow coming down rapidly, and of course when you're starting at number 19 as Lee Johnson is in GB1, it is going to make a bit of a difference.
Well, what you're going to hope is that the snow stops about sled number 16, and then yeah, it will make a big difference. It'll make you go a whole lot quicker than the other 16 sleds, but at the moment it really is bucketing down and probably will be pretty even for everybody. The first few sleds might struggle a little bit more than the others as they virtually act like snow plows down here, but they are sending quite a few forerunners down, sleds down, about 6 or 7 of them before the first man goes down, Stampfer. But yeah, I mean, the conditions aren't perfect. They would have to come down a lot harder, though, for them to actually cancel this first run.
Well, you've been in that start house, Colin, quite a few times. What is exactly going on up there in the last few moments before the first slide?
Well, you're warming up just like an Olympic sprinter would be. You're jumping up and down, doing some sprints, and there you can see the start record, 4.76 seconds by Alexander Zubkov and Vojevoda, the Russian pairing. That was done yesterday, and that first 50-meter sprint is all crucial in bobsleigh. That's your engine. After that, it's only gravity that takes you down.
Well, that is the record of Austria 1, who are first down the mountain today. Their second slide, 55.94. They're lying in 10th place, and they're about 0.2 of a second ahead of GB1. And such are the margins in this sport, such are the margins, of course, in all the winter sports that involve high speed, downhill skiing, giant slalom, etc. You're winning by tenths of a second, if not hundredths. So as Colin was saying, last minute warm-up. So important, of course, to stay as warm as possible. -4 is the temperature of the air here. The ice is down at about -6. I think some of the early runners could be hoping for very fast times. Those are not running spikes, they're specially designed brush spikes. So Austria 1, Wolfgang Stampfer and Klaus Seelos. The man at the back there, new brakeman for Stampfer since 2002. And Wolfgang Stampfer, he finished 7th in this competition 4 years ago. Clean load, and 5 seconds as the start time, and not particularly quick, Colin, for the first men down the mountain.
Well, you want to be going a little bit quicker than that. Round about 4:80 will be a very good start today. I think you'll probably see start times a touch slower than yesterday. Indeed, Stampfer went off in 2 4.96 second starts yesterday, so he's 400 seconds slower, and most of that comes because of the snow. They brush the top 20-25 meters, but then as you come out from the start house into the air here, it's bucketing down, and that snow will slow you down.
Well, the next speed that we see as they head round 14 and go through the chicane is going to be the top speed of this bobsled track. It's going to come up any minute now in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and 130 kilometers per hour is about 81 miles an hour. Very high there on number 17 through 18. The last corner coming up, and 248.43. That is the target for everybody. What is their track time? 56.57. And that actually is very, very slow. So obviously the weather is having an impact on the speeds available here.
That's 0.6 of a second slower than Stamper was going yesterday in both of his runs. So, yeah, it's having a big effect. You can actually see the snow piled up at the side through the chicane there, where the track workers are trying to sweep it away. And if you get a wrong line through one of these straights, you could be in big trouble and hit a big bank of snow.
So Latvia won on next. Couple of runs yesterday within about 1/10 of a second of each other. A little bit of extra weight there with his dry shoes being put in the front of the bob, so when he gets out he'll put those straight on so it doesn't have any effect of blunting the brush spikes he's wearing. And of course, as we'll see with the women's competition that starts tomorrow, so many athletes in terms of track and field athletics are taking part in this sport, especially the brakemen. They're big, they're strong, they're incredibly powerful, and they're very, very quick as well. Yanis Minins trying to block everything out. His brakeman is Dreiskins. 1.93 meters tall, weighs in at well over 100 kilos. And yesterday they started pretty well. Their fastest 4.86. They're 300ths of a second outside of that.
4.89 seconds, that's not a bad start though in these conditions. They'll be trying to push forward, get down into the top six, sitting in 9th at the moment, of course. Andre Langer just in the lead. He's ahead of Pierre Luders, the great Canadian. There's a real battle. I think there's probably 6 or 7 sleds that still medal here. Latvia maybe just outside that, but 3,300s up at the moment over the Austrians.
So Minins driving pretty well through the chicane, not touching the sides. That is so important because the corners to come are some of the most on this track, and if you don't set it up correctly, well, you'll be all over the place by the time you get to this corner. Very high on number 17, but safely through 18 onto the last corner, and 0.49 of a second ahead of Wolfgang Stamper. That is a pretty useful lead. And what was his track time on that third slide? 56.16. So once again, these guys were comfortably under 56 seconds yesterday, but not now.
Well, that big start certainly helped. And then down the bottom, a little bit of a tap there, coming down through into 17. These very fast 3 corners, 3 big left-handers at the bottom. And yeah, that's a lot better than Stamper did. Much, much closer to yesterday's times. And Latvia won, go into the lead at the moment.
Well, in just a moment, we'll see one of the top 4 competitors, Matthias Hoffner and Mark Kern from Germany, Germany 2. And there is only 0.37 of a second between the top 4 at the moment. So important for Matthias Hoffner to get a good, clean drive here and a very fast start. His best start yesterday, 4.92, and we haven't seen anything close to that so far, but 4.97, once again, slower than it was yesterday, but that largely is because of the track condition.
This German sled is so fast down the bottom. At least it was yesterday. Oh, done a little bit of a tap coming out of 3 on the left-hand wall. He is carrying a big lead over Minins, the Latvian, from those first 2 runs. It is the aggregate, 89.7 kilometers an hour. That's decent speed there.
Well, Colin, I know you've just been talking a few moments ago to Christoph Langen, of course, great German champion of years gone by, and he said you will see a German gold medal today, didn't he?
Oh, they just ran through that big pile of snow there on the chicane. That would have cost them. You're absolutely right, though. Langen was saying, yeah, the Germans, he thinks, won't be a problem. 2-man and 4-man. The sleds are so fast, and they're in such good condition.
Well, they're certainly ahead of Latvia 1 and Minins, the pilot, by 0.32 of a second. That looked pretty useful, so certainly maintaining their advantage. Once again, though, 56.24. Way, way outside the times. There were many, many crews who came down the mountain yesterday in well under 56 seconds, including GB1 and Lee Johnston.
Well, in fact, he actually took a tap coming into corner one as well there, and you see some of the snow piles that he's hitting. Didn't get a nice clean line through chicane. 56.24 seconds, and, well, didn't extend his lead over the Latvians very much, and the snow is getting worse and worse here.
Well, certainly yesterday, Matthias Hoffner and Germany 2, who are in the lead at the moment, said he had to attack this hill. Attack all 19 corners. There was no need for complacency. It wasn't a question of just sitting back and waiting for all the other crews to make a mistake. Now, United States 1, Todd Hayes, one of the most experienced men on the circuit, second in the four-man competition in Salt Lake City, and fourth in the two-man. And perhaps his best chance of a medal is in the four-man competition, which of course comes at the end of the Olympic Games. He's currently lying in sixth place, 0.52 of a second, and that is the fastest start we've seen so far. It looks good for USA at the moment.
Well, that was a super start there from Hayes and Jovanovic. Both guys incredible athletes. So Hayes on the front handle, 110 kilos and nearly 6'4". And this Bodine-built sled, Jeff Bodine, the great NASCAR sled and car designer, has found some fabulous aerodynamics. Now, Hayes was behind the Germany 2 pairing coming into this run. Has he managed to close anything from that big start? It's doing well at the moment, 1400's the difference.
Well, certainly his top speed is going to be interesting. The fastest we've seen so far, just over 130. That's only 129.7. It looked as though he was going to pick up time on the Germans, but he's slowing just a little bit and ends up 0.22 of a second behind Matthias Hoffner and Germany 2.
He started out this run 1500s behind Hoffner, so in many ways it's not a big success for the Americans, this slipping further and further away from the medals. That's quite a heavy take on there as he came round through into corner 19. 56.31 seconds, so 0.6 of a second slower than his heat yesterday, and he goes into second.
Well, Todd Hayes said at a press conference yesterday he thought he'd got the setup of his sled wrong with the wrong runners. I wonder how the American feels now. So Germany 2 just ahead of the USA and Latvia 1 in third place. Now, in terms of the perfect combination for a bobsled team, you can't get much better than a former champion from 1998, Pierre Luders of Canada 1, and Lascelles Brown of Jamaica, now competing for Canada. He's an absolute powerhouse. So Luders has got one of the fastest brakemen in the world behind him now. Luders in and Brown in shortly after, 4.82 seconds. That's about 0.05 of a second slower than yesterday. But Luders, he had the drive of his life second time down yesterday, and he really began to close up on Germany and everybody else. But that was a little touch on the right-hand side there, Colin.
Well, maybe it was. It certainly was close anyway, but he managed to get into the Toro there, into corner 6. These three right-handers in a row correct. He didn't get that correct in the first run yesterday. Almost a flawless second run, though, when he was hunting down Andre Lange. Now he's sitting in second, just 0.06 of a second behind the great German. But he's going into the lead at the moment by half a second.
Pierre Luders certainly is a man who does not like losing. He's got a German fan club as well, of course, as a big Canadian following. And this is another super drive down this hill, but 4.44 of a second ahead now. Applause from the Canadians, and certainly a lot of applause outside of the commentary box here, just in front of us. But Pierre Luders, certainly one of the most experienced pilots.
Well, you're absolutely right there, Paul. He took a tap on the right-hand side as he exited out of corner 3. Here he is in chicane. He had to try and avoid that right-hand wall there. You see all that snow banked up there. The track workers don't have time to shovel it out. They can only sweep it to the sides. And well, I hope the message gets to the top for the Brits and Lee Johnston. He needs to be arrow straight out of corner 11.
So Canada leading Germany and the USA, but a lot of good pilots and good crews to come. Switzerland 2 next, both well under 56 seconds yesterday on both of their slides. Ivo Rög and Cedric Grand. The brakeman, very, very good sprinter, former Swiss record holder over 60 meters. And this crew, they're lying in 7th place. Remember, Great Britain won, Lee Johnson, Dan Humphries down in 12th, but only 0.5 of a second between this crew and the Britons. Away goes Switzerland 2. And Canada leading at the moment with Pierre Luders in control. 4.88. A little bit slower than yesterday, but still flying.
But once again, a tap on the right-hand wall there. I wonder why everybody's done that. Well, at least 3 sleds have done that so far. That's really quite a simple and basic mistake. Perhaps just a little bit heavy-handed on the D-rings, the very simple rudimentary steering mechanism on the inside. It's such a difficult changeover. You're absolutely attacking that first 50 meters with all your aggression, and as soon as the pilot gets in, he has to find this incredible finesse on the steering mechanism. It's very hard. Is he going to avoid the snow? Ooh, I think he did.
It was very close to that left-hand side as he came absolutely flying through the chicane there. And another bob, under 130 kilometers per hour. Perhaps because of the snow, this track is slowing just a little bit, and that's certainly not good news for GB1. So in 5th place, I think by the time that all of the bobs come down the track, Switzerland 2 are going to lose a little bit of headway there. That wasn't particularly quick for them. And a big knock there on the right-hand side, early doors.
Yep, just a little bit heavy-handed on the D-rings. Then coming around corner 2 there, started to get his act together. Cedric Grand, well, it doesn't look happy at the moment. 56.37 seconds. So once again, about 0.6 of a second slower than the runs yesterday.
Germany won in 1st place, but only just by 0.06 of a second overnight from Pierre Luders. Andre Lange, and what a day yesterday for Kevin Kuska. The first time they came down this course, they absolutely took the track record apart. Second time, Andre Lange, the pilot, well, he almost lost his brakeman, Kevin Kuska, didn't he?
Well, I think you can see some marks on the side of Kevin's left calf there, where he's obviously spiked himself in the terrible confusion of when he tried to load. They drove off fast as ever down in the low 480s, and it was right here where Kuska slipped. And I'll tell you what, he loaded pretty early there, 4.83, no mistakes this time. He was literally like a Superman position, hanging out the back, and just managed to claw his way back into the sled. It was almost near disaster. I wouldn't like to have seen a sled go down without a brakeman.
So Andre Lange, one of the greatest drivers over the last couple of seasons. And that is quick at that part of the course. 90 kilometers per hour, but it's going to get much, much quicker. Only 0.01 ahead at the moment of Canada 1, so he needs to build in terms of speed now. Very close to that left-hand wall, but increasing in speed all the time, and his advantage is increasing. Remember, 0.06 of a second ahead at the end of the first day, and he is creeping ahead. The pre-event favourite is looking good. Andre Lange comes through for Germany 1.16 of a second ahead of the former champion, Pierre Luders. And the coach there absolutely expressionless. So that tells us nothing at the moment, but Andre Lange was really on song there. What was his time, Colin?
And it was a 56.01 his downtime. Very high line, round 17 there. Different from anybody else, but look at that, Paul. Just 0.3 of a second away from his Heat 2 yesterday. That shows you how much of a mistake that start was yesterday. And Andre Lange goes into the lead with just 1 run to come.
So Andre Lange in the lead overnight. He's in the lead still with 1 run to go ahead of Canada and Germany 2. Well, if you want power, if you want explosion at the top of the course, this is the team to watch. Russia 1 and Alexander Zubkov and Alexei Voyevoda. Voyevoda, the brakeman in his first Olympic Games, is an absolute mountain of a man, Colin.
Well, the former European arm wrestling champion who had to lose nearly 20 kilos in weight to fit into this sled. The all-up weight of the sled and the 2 guys can be 390 kilos. You can't be any heavier than that, and of course you want to be at maximum weight. You want to be able to overcome the friction of the ice as well as possible, and the heavier you are, the better you are. And the bigger the guy pushing the sled, of course, the lighter the sled can be. That's why you want a big monster like Voyevoda on the back. 4.84 seconds, that's great starting.
Well, all the times that we're getting here today, of course, are slower, but you can see why. The snow is absolutely tipping down at the moment, but so far so good for Alexander Zubkov. He certainly has driven the top part of this course particularly well over the first two sessions yesterday, and already over 90 kilometers per hour, so up with the speed that Andrei Lange produced.
Well, these Russian sleds, they are all carbon fiber. So really very, very technical, and that was a little bit of a waver there through chicane, but at least he didn't hit the snow. A third of a second down on Lange, and yesterday his first run, well, I actually think more than Luders, he can hunt down Lange if he had another two good runs.
Well, he's only in third place at the moment, crosses the line, 0.49 of a second behind the German team. Absolute clouds of snow up the finishing straight, and 56.12, not bad for Zubkov.
Well, that was Jack Rogge at the back there, just chatting with Valeri, the head of the Russian Federation, who shouts them away from the block there. He's been in this sport now 20 years, and I think this is one of his best ever pairings, one of his most likely pairings to medal. The Russians really have built up over the last 8 years. Here coming round through 17, 18 and 19, up near 80 miles an hour. Some fantastic steering from this Russian pairing.
So the Russians, pretty solid, if not spectacular. A lot of support now, of course, for the Italians. The first Italian crew we've seen on this third run. Germany in the lead, ahead of Canada, and Germany too in third place. So Italy won, another pairing that got under 56 seconds twice yesterday. Simone Bertazzo and his brakeman Matteo Toccio. Their first Olympic competition was yesterday, and they're in 8th place.
Beautiful timing as they hit that sled together there. Almost with ESP as the two of them thought, and smashed into that sled together, driving it off. 64.8 kilometers an hour. Do have a lot of ground to make up though from yesterday. 0.8 of a second down on the Germans at the moment, but 90 kilometers an hour as they come into the Toros, good speed. And I tell you what, this Italian pairing, they know this track better than anyone. It might be inexperienced in international terms, but they've done hundreds of runs down this track.
Well, more than any other international team. They were very close to the right-hand side there of the chicane. That is a fraction down on Andrei Lange's speed, the leader, as is that, 129.3, very close to 81 miles an hour, high through 18. One corner to go for the Italians. In 8th place, they actually lost a bit of time there. Lower down the course, 248.20 and 56.43 is their time for that run.
Well, coming into the Toro there, it was a very high line into corner 6, nearly tapping off the woodwork. They managed to pull it around 56.43. That was a good second run by Bertazzo. The Italians then into 8th, consolidating their positions. There's the great Andrei Lange, Olympic champion in 4-man last time, leading this race at the moment. Can he hang on for one more run?
Well, in third place after yesterday, Switzerland won, and rather like his teammate, Ivo Rög, Martin Annan has said he is going to attack today. In third place, 0.20 of a second behind Andrei Lange and Kevin Kuska, and Germany won. So a very important moment for the Swiss if they're going to apply any pressure on the leaders. And the start, of course, is going to be very, very important. 4.79, one of the fastest starters yesterday, and that is quick, Colin.
Oh, smoked it off the hill there, 4.8 seconds. Bayard Hefty on the back. He is the man when it comes to pushing. No one in the world has leg speed like him. Up at nearly 18 stone and 6 foot tall, he's just built like a tank, and well, shoving this near 200 kilo bobsleigh out like it's nothing.
So Switzerland won, are certainly going well here, in third place at the moment, but 0.16 of a second down on the Germans. This is going to be a superb drive by Martin Annan. He went so well in training. He won a couple of the training sessions, but he's losing a bit of time and losing ground. Annan there, not over 130. He would have wanted more. Only 2 corners to go now. Such a crucial time for the Swiss for a medal later on today. They're in third place safely at the moment, but they're a 4.37 of a second down. Can they make that up? with 1 run to go.
Well, the places are starting to move around a little bit, but first, second and third at the moment from yesterday staying exactly the same. Look at the snow coming down. But Matthias Hopfner, he's dropped to 5th actually, as Zubkov has snuck into 4th, and there's just 1200ths between Anand, the Swiss here, and the Russian pairing, who really are marching forward. Well, down the bottom, they found some very nice lines. Anand said yesterday, didn't he, that he thought his runs were perfect. He couldn't understand how Andre Lange was so far ahead.
So 56.18 for the Swiss crew. And certainly a lot of the Anand supporters here. So as we start the next group of 10, seeded from yesterday, it's France 1. Both times down the hill yesterday, way outside 56 seconds for Bruno Major and Stéphane Galbert, his brakeman. And Stéphane Galbert, well, his father was a French champion back in the 1960s. More importantly, Bruno Major, the pilot, he was the bronze medalist in Nagano in 1998 when they tied with Great Britain on that occasion for the bronze medal.
Well, that was in 4-man, and he's been world champion in 4-man as well. This is his weakness in 2-man. He can have 1 guy in the back pushing him away, but really he needs 3 guys. He's quick at all, Major. 5.03 seconds, and I believe that's the slowest we've seen so far in this 3rd run of the Olympics.
I just wonder at 38 years old whether he's still got the power in his legs. He's got the finesse of the drive, piloting this bob down the track, but I think France 1 need a bit more power at the start if they're really going to challenge for the medals. Only 20th place overnight, and quite some way behind Sean Olsen in GB1. There are 8 sliders between this one and GB1, but France at the moment in 11th place.
Now going down through the final few corners. That big G-force corner, believe it or not, through corner 16, it peaks over 5 Gs, crushing the brakeman down to the bottom of the bob. And as France 1 come through, well, it's over 3 seconds now behind the Germans. And, well, Paul, most of that is in the start deficit.
I just wonder, by the time we get down to Lee Johnson, who'll be down the track in about, well, 12, 13, 40 minutes' time, just how slow it is going to get. And I understand that just before I said Lee Olsen, I was thinking about back to 1998 when Major here tied with Olsen for that bronze medal. I did, of course, mean Lee Johnson and Dan Humphries for Great Britain. But France 1 at the moment in 11th place. Right, the next crew, Czech Republic 1. 56.24 is their fastest time so far. And just looking down the leaderboard, well, the times 56.01 is the fastest by Andre Lange, and we had about 22 crews underneath that speed and underneath that time yesterday. Ivo Danilejevic now, and his brakeman Roman Gamola. Not the biggest man, Gamola, but he's very strong, very powerful. And when they started yesterday, their best was 4.89 seconds, only 200ths outside that. So a pretty useful start for the Czech team.
4.91's an outstanding start. That's really world-class territory. I think if the British pairing were to do around that speed, they'd be extremely happy away from the starts. Anything under 4.95 would do the Brits. 88.6 kilometers an hour as they come round the Toro. This Czech bob, they've done all kinds of alterations on it over the last few weeks leading into this. All kinds of secret things that go on in the garages around the Olympic track, and that was a big hit coming into 11.
And it wasn't particularly straight going through the chicane there. They took a knock on the right-hand side. And as we've seen throughout this Olympic sliding festival of sport, luge, skeleton, and now bobsleigh, that part of the track, if you don't come out of the chicane absolutely straight, you lose speed and you have difficulty on the rest of the course. They actually move ahead of the French by a fraction, 56.99 seconds, and that is way below the speeds we were seeing yesterday.
Well, you know, Paul, bobsleigh's got 3 real elements to it. It's got sleds, it's got the big push, and of course it's got the drive. And I have to say, this track, so long as it is and so technical, the drive at this track is really more important than almost any other track in the world. Of course, the big starts, we've seen the big starters up near the top in the medals as well, but well, Czech Republic, they go into 11th position at the moment.
It's still Germany 1 leading, Canada 1 in second, Switzerland 1 in third. Certainly 3 of the favourites are up there. And I think looking forward to seeing GB1. They'll be hoping to break into the top 10, but the conditions here really at the moment are against them. Well, we have the Dutch commentators next door to us here overlooking the track, and they were desperately disappointed yesterday with Arjen Glaas and Cyprian Jansma in Netherlands 1. They thought they should have driven better, and they thought they should have got faster starts. Now, what have they got today? 4.88 is pretty useful.
Well, he just didn't stop pushing that, did he, Jansma? Up at 6'6", enormous stride. They're almost running it down into corner 1. That was incredible athleticism there. Of course, there's a bit of an equilibrium point where if you start running it too far, you're actually holding the sled back from allowing the gravity to take it away and increase the speed. And I think, though, he got it just about right there. 4.88 seconds is good starting.
Well, they were level with the French yesterday evening in 20th equal place, and they'd be eager to go a little bit faster, but that wasn't too straight. They took a skid there. That is relatively slow. That certainly will affect their speed here. Only 1:27.5. I reckon that's one of the slowest speeds we've seen here. So once again, Arjen Glaas of the Netherlands piloting. Netherlands 1 is really up against it. And 2:50.19. And actually stays ahead, or moves ahead, should I say, of France 1, but only by about 1400ths of a second.
Well, this would be a good scalp for the Brits to take, and I think they probably will do at the end of this Olympics. The Dutch, they've been bronze medalists just a couple of years ago in the European Championships. And here, well, just not producing the goods. I'm not sure what's wrong with Arjen Glaas. To be fair, he was injured during the training week. He missed 2 of his runs. He's really damaged one of his ribs quite badly. 56.95 seconds, and they go into 12th, was it?
Yes, they're in 12th place at the moment. United States 2. Certainly a very, very good slide on the second occasion. These beautifully designed bobs that they've got for Steve Holcomb and Bill Schaffenhauer, his brakeman. And Holcomb, well, he attended university in the United States at Utah, which of course in Salt Lake City, which was the venue for the last Olympic Games. And USA 2, well, before today they were down in 14th place, so they are one of the teams that could challenge GB1. They were only 600ths of a second behind GB1 yesterday evening, so this is going to be fairly significant as the track is worsening.
Well, Billy Schaffenhauer on the back, former running back in college ball and college football, incredibly powerful man, and he feels very miffed. He's been dropped from the USA 1 sled, and you know, really he feels his chances of a medal have gone with it. So I know he attacked that start with absolutely everything. Oh, big slide there from the USA 2 sled.
Well, certainly as they head off towards 13 and 14 there, the tail of the bob was waggling all over the place, and once again a speed down at 1:27. This is not good news for Great Britain, I have to say. 2:49.17 for USA 2. They've actually moved up the leaderboard just a little bit in terms of what has happened here today. They're ahead of Czech Republic 1, Netherlands and France. But this was not good coming through the chicane.
Well, I'm afraid to say the snow is definitely getting heavier as we close in on the British bob coming off this third run here. You can see this Bodine sled not getting good top-end speed, and it should be. It should be up near 130 kilometers an hour. The USA 1 sled went over 130, and, well, Holcomb, 57.05. That's not what he wanted. There's Brian Scheimer, bronze medalist in 4-man last time for the USA. As we look at the leaderboard, Germany 1, Andre Lange extending his lead from the overnight 600s to 1600s.
Well, we've already seen Russia 1 hurtle down the track. We've now got Russia 2 and Evgeny Popov. He's been around for a long, long time. He's only 29 years old, but he does seem to have been around for an age. And Roman Oreshnikov, his brakeman. And Popov actually piloted his bob to 8th place in the four-man competition 4 years ago, but not doing as well as that at the moment. He is in 19th place after day one. There's certainly a lot of rituals take place at the top of the track. What about this tape on the back of their uniforms, Colin?
Well, the tape on the back of the hamstrings there, it's actually a part of the uniform, and according to all sources, it allows your hamstrings to flick your leg through quicker, and it gives you an increase of 1%. Well, who knows how much of that's in the mind and how much of it is true. 4.97 seconds. I wonder whether we'll see these suits in the summer games, something like this.
Well, they're only 400ths away from what they achieved yesterday, but I think it's lower down the track where speeds are suffering here. They're going to rapidly increase in terms of speed now, but one or two teams have been over 90 kilometers per hour at that part of the track. So the track at the moment does look as though it is slowing. It's certainly as cold as it was half an hour ago, but imagine the amount of snow that's being dumped through the chicane, where we've had speeds of over 110. Now what has he got here? Popov wants to move up, but that is not particularly quick. And of course, still Germany one in the lead, way ahead, 2.87 seconds the advantage, but safely down the hill. And 13th place for Russia 2, and Evgeny Popov and Roman Oreshnikov.
Well, they've come down in a time of 56.98 seconds. Compare that to 56.5. So my feeling is the snow's not actually worsening at all. It's been pretty fair throughout this contest at the moment, this third run here. So no one's really got any excuses. Well, Russia coming down through the bottom few corners. Popov, such an experienced pilot, really. Sitting in 13th, and well, it'd be good if the Brits could get ahead of him.
There aren't too many spectators at the finish where we're watching just at the moment, but look at the snow on the track. Austria 2, outside 56 seconds twice, and there are 3 more teams now before we see GB1. And when I tell you that yesterday evening Lee Johnson and Dan Humphries sped down the track at 55.84, and not one of the teams here today have gone that quick. Well, these two guys, it's rather like little and large. Jürgen and Gerhard Köhler, the pilot, only 1.76 m tall. His brakeman 1.93 m. So all the power coming from the long striding Gerhard Köhler. The load was good, 4.97 seconds the start time. So away go Austria 2, and at the moment the Austrians, they're lying in 16th place, 4 places behind Great Britain's team.
Well, Lewacka, the pilot here, he has the potential to do real greatness here. 5th in Lake Placid on one of the most technical courses in the world. Really surprised everyone earlier in the year. Certainly a fearless pilot. Lake Placid's got a huge reputation. A lot of pilots tend to oversteer there to try and keep a nice, safe line. And you know what, Paul? I think this track is starting to build up a reputation as well. It's so difficult, so fast, and so technical.
Well, so many of the pilots have said, despite its technicalities, it is very enjoyable because it is so quick. And that is certainly one of the attractions of this sport. So Austria 2 coming through in 12th place. That is only, of course, for the time being until all the teams have finished their third run, and 57.07, way outside what they achieved yesterday.
Now the Austrians coming into corner 6. Nice line round there. We haven't seen any problems with that. But hitting through the snow as they came through the chicane. You can see it blasting everywhere. Then coming down through into corner 15. The Austrian coach, well, he's happy with that. But I think probably Austria 2 shouldn't be, because they're nearly a second slower than their second run yesterday.
Well, it's Italy next, and the last Italian gold medal in this event was way back in 1968. And the pilot on that occasion, Eugenio Monti, one of the corners here, corner 18, right at the end of the track, is actually named after him. And he was one of the competitors who lent the British pairing of Nash and Dixon a bit to mend their bob in 1964 when GB1 won the Olympic gold. So now Fabrizio Tossini and Samuel Romanini go for Italy 1. lying in 13th place, just behind GB1, only 0.02 of a second after day one. So this is one of the teams that GB1 will be keeping a very close eye on.
But it's hard to imagine just how much adrenaline is coursing through Tassini's veins right now. In front of his home crowd, so much pressure on him. He's been in the sport 15 years, and when he heard the Olympics was coming to Italy, he decided to stay on for more. Now into his mid-30s. And at the moment, well, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with this. Oh, big hit there. It's so hard when you're this excited to steer with such fine control.
And the snow is coming down so thickly here. There are parts of this track where you can hardly see the bob. And speeds are suffering all the time. Italy 2, though, into 11th place. One corner to go. Fabrizio Tassini crosses the line there, 2:49.01. His total time over the 3 runs at 56.93. Well, yesterday his best 56.02, but nevertheless, a lot of cheers, a lot of applause for the Italians.
Well, he tried to blast away a big start there. His brakeman just making a little bit of a hand adjustment. That'll cost him a couple hundredths of a second. Didn't quite hang on to it properly. But coming down through corner 3, the first of the big 2 pressure corners there, didn't quite get the exit right. He was sucked up a little bit by the centrifugal force at the end and then had to steer heavily off it. So, well, almost a second slower. Oh, please don't tell me the track is slowing up for the British.
Latvia next, Latvia 2, and Gatis Gut, very experienced pilot. And one of the biggest brakemen on the circuit, Intaz Dikmanis. He's absolutely enormous, almost 2 meters tall. Well, overnight they were lying in 18th place. And not the time, I guess, to think, right, this time I'm going to go faster than ever, because that simply won't happen because of the conditions. But Gatis Gut, he's only 29 years old, but rather like his teammate. And Popov, the Russian, they do seem to have been around for a very long time indeed. And experience in this sport counts for a lot. So away go Latvia 2. Andre Langer of Germany, of course, is still in the lead. Oh, I was going to say the push bar there came down very, very late indeed, Colin.
Perhaps he just had a little bit of a mechanical fault there, or perhaps he thought he'd just get his steering right before he flicked it down, just to make sure he got around that first corner correctly. Of course, that steering handle out, I reckon from about 15 to 20 kilometers an hour onwards, it really does start to have an effect on the wind resistance. So at that speed, it would still slow them down just a little bit. Of course, this is a sport of hundreds.
It certainly is. Gold medals have been won by just 0.01 of a second. He took a big knock there coming through chicane. And as we've come to expect, that doesn't set you up well for the remaining left-hander, or 3 left-handers, should I say, starting now, and the big right-hander preceding that. So Gatis Gut's bringing Latvia 2 home, and 2.76 seconds behind the leaders. His track time on that heat, another pair that have gone outside 57 seconds.
Well, you can see here coming down through the chicane, exiting corner 11. The track workers are sweeping away from the middle, but if you're not straight out of 11, you're going to go right up into those snowbanks. And, well, it's hard to say exactly how much that'll cost you, but I think it's fair to say it'll cost you quite a bit. So, Latvia 2 into 15th.
Well, next, it's Great Britain. There are the leaders, Germany, Canada and Switzerland. The only change in the top 5 is that Russia have moved ahead of Germany too. So the track is clear for GB1 and Lee Johnston and Dan Humphries. Brilliant. The British Army combining together well with the Royal Air Force here. Lee Johnston in the Royal Marines, Dan Humphries, known as Bam Bam to his friends. He's an absolute giant of a man, is Dan Humphries, a superb athlete. And yesterday, Lee Johnston had one of the best drives of his life. He was 7th quickest overall, and currently GB1 are in 12th.
Well, there's Dean Ward and Paul Ireland, the 2 athletic coaches, cheering them off. Dan Humphries, good power striding there out, 4.92, and that matches their first start yesterday. And in these conditions, that's outstanding stuff. Humphries, such a big man, up at 6'4" and 18 stone, really driving it out well.
Well, certainly they will want to maintain their position, if not creep up a couple of places. But conditions are against it. I know we keep saying that, but it truly is awful for piloting this bobsleigh down the track. Not going too badly at the moment. Germany 1 don't matter. What does matter is, can GB1 break into the top 10? It might take another drive, but that was super through the chicane. The big right-hander now, then the big three left-handers going towards the finish. Good driving by Lee Johnston once again. Awful conditions here in the two-man bobsleigh, but that is good by GB1. They're in 13th place. They've actually dropped down a position, but nevertheless, I think because of what has happened here today, that was very, very competent piloting by Lee Johnston after a great start by Dan Humphries.
Well, Steve Holcomb at the USA has just snuck ahead of Lee Johnson. I think that really is because he came earlier on. Look at the snow now, it's bucketing down. Definitely if you came off the hill there about half an hour ago, it was nowhere near as bad as this. But Lee Johnson, it's a good position, 13th, coming into the final run.
So Great Britain in 13th place. Andre Lange is still leading ahead of Pierre Luders, the same as it was overnight, with Martin Annan of Switzerland 1 in 3rd place. We're going to be back later. It's back to you, Hazel.